Okay guys, this video is a little different. It's going to be about my Caridina shrimp tank. I'm going to title it as the update on the pink flamingo crypts, and we'll get to those in just a second. But as you can see, this tank is completely overgrown. It's coming up on the 2-year anniversary. Got to experiment with a lot of different plants. I got to experiment with the Caridina species of shrimp, and there's a few things that I'm gonna go over that I liked and I didn't like. For lighting on this tank, we're running the 2.0 Fluval, which is on a heavily planted aquarium, just an amazing light. Um, Now I've experienced that same light on a lower planted tank, and all it does is grow hair string algae, so keep that in mind. The substrate is ADA soil, which it's at the 2-year mark, so it's pretty much worthless for buffering the substrate. And that's where we're at with the shrimp problem, is they've, last 6 months or so, have decided to stop breeding. And instead of completely redoing this tank and setting it back up, I've just kind of letting the shrimp that are in here live out their lives, and I really have no big desire to continue with the Caridina species until I can get it to where it's more of a autofill system. And at this point, that's something that I'm not tracking down. So, just going to go over a few of the plants. This is supposed to be the Rotelia. What is it? Macaranda. These are the red metallic crypts. This was sold to me as an unknown species, so I'm sure it's a hybrid of something. I really want to get that going because almost impossible to find anymore. This is a fun little red striped crypt. Not thinking of what it's called. Back here we got a bunch of bronze crypts. And then this is Luigia, and just a green winded eye. And there's a red stemmed plant that I do not remember the name of, but and then we're going over here and there will be some more. But a few things: the ADA soil grows plants great, buffers the water temporarily, which I knew, and for these guys, they just don't fit my water, so I have to run an RODI system and really doctor it up. And that's just something that I've kind of lost interest in. ADA soil, I might use it as like a filler, on maybe some different aquascapes or something like that. But just to do a whole ADA soil where I'm not caring in any of my other tanks right at this time about buffering the soil, I wouldn't use it. I just use dirt because it's as messy as dirt, and for me, without needing the buffering, it's just not worth the hassle. So the ADA is one thing that I'm going away from. Other thing is this was my very first 20 long aquarium, and to me, for the footprint, it might as well be a 29. Right here, it's probably a good footprint for the shrimp, but plants, you get a couple weeks and you're back to needing to do a good trim again. There's just no water column depth, so good footprint, just way too short, so it might as well be a 29. So I don't like that, and for 20 gallons go, I would much rather have a 20 high. So that was a lesson learned there. So the point of this video is we're going to get in here and we're going to hack all these plants off. Basically going to share them with a few friends. Normally, if I was really keeping up on this tank, I could, start all of them trimmings and take them into the local fish store and get some money, but they're so raggedy and it's just not worth it. And at this point, and you can see they're so overgrown with one another, it's just a tangled mess. So up top, so this plant here is supposed to be red. It's just basically starved with nutrients. Growing good, but it just green because I don't think it's getting. Now a lot of people say you dose iron, whatever. I've tried that. It's missing more than that. It's just. I'll get to it in a second. This is that red stemmed one that I am really wasn't sure of what it was called. I just got them floating, but some of it's still floating. But we need to get this trim. You can see it's starting to come up out of the water. We'll get the light off. So anyway, so that's the top view. Pull the lid off and we'll get a really nice view of it. It does look pretty from the top view. So the reason that I made this video is this is my 2-year update on the pink flamingo crypt, and in the last few months the Rotelia has just started, which is supposed to be way back there, has branched off and made this runner, and it's continued running, and now it's almost lapped the tank. So we'll get that out of there and get a good view of the crypt. But with softer water and great light, that crypt after 2 years is pretty disappointing. Whoop. So I wished it would show up. Now I could break that bundle into like 2 or 3 plants and it would probably not do anything anymore. We're gonna jump around. Now there's the other crypt flamingo that a long time ago I started right back in that little light spot in the middle. I did divide it because it was somewhat taken off, and it just never did anything. Oop, lost it again. Shrimper, pretty little dude. But so we're gonna get that one crypt that's doing well all cleaned out, so it's got some room. So what's interesting, and then we'll probably get into the trimming, is last time I got ambitious and did my trimming, which if you look at from the tank view is about halfway down. You can see the little node or whatever where I trimmed it. If you come over and you follow that line on this Rotelia, you can see how thin and spaced the leaves are. And let's find it. Drag it across. Right at the last trimming, when I pulled out a whole bunch of plants, you can see how the leaf pattern on that plant just went to really fine and spaced and happy. Well, that was because I pulled all them plants out and it didn't have to compete so much for the nutrients. So we are just at the point that we have way too many plants for this little tank. And I think what I could do is just do a lot more water changes, and it would help out the plants. But this is, again, I have to doctor up the hard water that I got out of my tap and run it through RODI and all that fun stuff just to get it soft again, which then goes back to really not something I wanted to do. So we're gonna probably convert all these plants when the rack is finished to hard water, and then won't have to deal with the water doctoring that up anymore, and I think it'll be a lot funner for me. So this is kind of the 2-year mark. This tank was fun. I learned some things about what I like and I don't like, and we're gonna get into it. One good trim, probably send some off to some friends and let them do whatever they want with them. And next time it's to this point, hopefully we'll be ready to start planting up the rack. So that's my long-term plan. this is kind of the trim before we start harvesting for the rack. So thanks for watching, everybody. Okay guys, so this is the top view before the trim. I think it just looks amazing. A lot of happy plants, and it's not gonna be so pretty after the trim. Try not to drop my light in while I get in the video, but if you look, remember that macaranda I told you it was red? The part that hit the surface did turn red. So I think it'd be a lot happier with CO2 too. That is one thing that I've never experienced or played with, but need to make this an open top tank. But last 2 years my three-legged kitty spooker has been sleeping on it because this light does get hot, and trying to convince her to stay off it now would not end up so well. Would end up with a swimming kitty, I'm sure. So somebody might ask what those are. Been taking mulberry branches and drying them out. I trim them and then dry them out into little chunks, and the shrimp just go nuts for them. Yeah, they're not on them now because I've been disturbing them, but they were, and it looks like he's probably coming back. But let's get into it. Hopefully don't turn into a muddy mess. So okay, so I got you set up about the best I can. Gonna pull out a little water, and we're gonna get into it. Now, you can go out and spend a whole bunch of money on stainless steel tools. These actually were in a box at an auction I was at. I don't think they were used for aquascaping from the guy I got them from. Might have been a vet or something, but I have no idea. The $2 box was pretty handy. That came full of stuff for me to use. So I'm trying just to trim the Rotalia. Mark, if you're watching this is where it's coming from. I'm trying, but I'm not going to do that great. I'm going to try and go plant by plant, species by species, just so I can bag them separate and get them to the people that want them. See if I can get this in focus a little better for you guys. Alright, hopefully you get it in the view. Might even be able to zoom in and adjust. Maybe just a little bit. Anyways, lots of... No, I'm not in frame. Ah! Disaster! Alright, we'll just zoom back out and edit it down if we catch any footage. Little tripod is fighting me. Alright, one more cut. There's macaranda. So this is all that Rotalia. And you can feel some more down here. But I got lots of it, so we're going to cut it all down. And then I'll get some amazing plant growth, I'm sure. You got a whole bunch more, so I don't know if it'll all fit in the bag, but Here's a stem that wasn't getting no light and basically didn't have any leaves except for what could stretch out. So completely overgrown. I probably need to rip some of it up out of the dirt, but if I do that, we're gonna lose all the videoing for the day. So hopefully you caught some of that. We're gonna jump over and clean out the crypt. So you can see you got that big old runner. I'm not gonna try and leave any roots because I don't want it on this side of the tank. So, and you can see just as little bit that I've been in this. It's gonna be a dust cloud. It's kind of a bummer because I really wanted to show off that crypt, but obviously I'm gonna have to catch that picture tomorrow. Bad thing is, you guys can't see it, and I can't even see what I'm doing. Okay guys, so this is after the big trim. You can see the crypts are getting some sun now. The one on the right, I didn't even think was there anymore, but he was just buried, so dug him back out, gave the Rotelia a nice trim. You can see there's some rocks that you couldn't see before. Mandandra or whatever. It's pretty hacked down. And then that red stem thing I stuck over there. But completely different look after the big trim. The Luigia over here is I didn't really trim it. I pulled some pieces off and just stacked it on top of itself. It'll root down in and kind of form like a floating cluster. But let's go to the front. Okay, so you can see that the rock pile does exist. Got some more light on these plants, so they'll be a lot happier. I'm expecting to get some massive growth just because of the amount of light that's going to kick out. That's the Luigia mat. That was pretty much that way before. Just, you can actually see water column. Jump over. And there's the crypts. This was that one little teeny tiny runner that I pointed out in the video. I stuck it over here just because it seems like that's the best chance for it. And then my crypts, they're still pretty buried, but there you can see them. There's the crypts. They're still pretty buried, but they'll be alright. Been surviving this long shooting off runners, so. Okay guys, it's later in the day. The tank is just starting to clear up. You can see the shrimps are kind of going all over. I dropped in a piece of food for them, so they're down there just finding it. But tank's looking really good compared to what it did look like. The little tiger crypt is actually starting to get some light. You can see it's going to be a lot happier. Earlier in the video, that little flamingo crypt that I told you that I had divided at one time, I pulled it and I put it on the other side. We'll jump there. This is the other half that I did divide, and it basically got overrun by the Rotelia. There was just not enough light because this crypt was doing so well. So we'll run around. These little plants are going to start getting a lot better light. So it'll grow in fast. But 2 years of growth on this one. As long as I keep the Rotelia back where it should be fine. And this is that one little runner right there. So I thought about breaking this up, but I'm just going to not stress it out. And I might make a new home for it in the new rack. But it also should get a lot brighter now that it don't have to compete for the light. So all that floating stuff up on top was really kind of choking it out. So need to take a little better care of it, but that's the update. Thanks for anybody that made it this far. Later.